Just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean you're always great with money. And over the past 20 years, I've met and worked with innumerable millionaire expats who've ended up stressed, anxious, and stuck in the corporate rat race and struggling to maintain the lavish expat lifestyle that they've become used to. So why does this happen? Well, it's all to do with something that we call drift. And in this video, I'm going to explain how it works and why it stops expats from becoming truly wealthy and achieving their most cherished life dreams. So to explain the concept of drift, I'm going to tell you a personal story. As a kid, I used to go on family holidays to Cornwall, and one summer I was playing in the waves with my sister, but looking back a second later to see she'd gone, and so had the beach. Without knowing it, a rip current was pulling me out to sea. I drifted away from the shore from where I was originally meant to be, and without realizing it, this happens in so many people's lives at the same time. They get in their 40s, 50s or 60s, look around and realize they've drifted off course, both with their finances and sometimes with their wider life. Whilst they start in a fantastic position, earning a great salary or running a successful business, a riptide of different priorities and flawed decisions can pull them away from where they originally wanted to go. And drift causes 5 major impacts further down the line. Number 1 is confusion. When we're drifting, we lose perspective. Without a clear destination in view, the challenge on the journey seems pointless. We eventually wonder if our life has any meaning and despair in finding purpose. Number 2, expense. Drifting through life can be enormously expensive, both in terms of money and, more importantly, time. Too often we zigzag our way through life, uncertain of the destination and eating up valuable and finite resources. Now, number 3 is a lost opportunity. Unless we have a destination in mind, it's tough to separate the opportunities from the distractions. Will the situation move me closer to my goal or further away? Without a plan, we have no way of knowing or measuring. There's no real sense of urgency, no reason to seize the opportunity, and no sense that we might lose it if we don't. Then it's easy to procrastinate, and most importantly, have expiration dates. If missed, these opportunities are lost forever. Number 4, pain. Whilst some pain in life is unavoidable, we bring too much of it on ourselves. Too often this is simply because we failed to plan. For example, without a plan for our health, we can end up sick. Without a plan for our career, we can end up unfulfilled or even unemployed. Without a plan for our marriage, we can end up miserable or divorced. And number 5 is regrets. But perhaps the saddest consequence of all is getting to the end of life with deep regrets. We experience the if onlys. If only I'd eaten better, exercised more, taken better care of my body. If only I spent more time reading, learning, or traveling. If only I spent more time trying to connect with my spouse or listening to my children. Seeking to understand rather than seeking to be understood. So why and when do we let drift happen? Well, firstly, it happens when we're unaware. Sometimes we drift because we simply don't know what's happening or what's really at stake. If you don't know about a rip current, it's very easy to be caught in one, and this can happen in real life too. We all have ideas about money and life that are inaccurate. For example, things that feel emotionally safe in the short term, such as cash at the bank, are typically the most dangerous for our future purchasing power in the long term. Until we see things differently, we just don't know. Secondly, it happens when we're distracted. Perhaps you're caught up in your career and the grind of balancing kids and life, or have other stresses in your life. It's easy and fun to be snorkeling to then look up and find yourself hundreds of meters from shore. This is exactly what happens to busy, time-poor professionals and executives. Thirdly, it happens when you're overwhelmed. Those who are caught up in the grind of life, like the professionals we serve, often have a lot to think about and probably haven't optimized their wealth and their finances as efficiently as they could. Fourthly, it happens when we're deceived. It's amazing how our minds work. We're often unconscious about the relationships between our beliefs and reality. Whether you believe you can do something or not, you're right, said Henry Ford. In other words, what we believe about something creates the outcome that we experience, and as a result, you can drift feeling powerless to change course. So to translate this into concrete financial actions, the common types of drift which I see every day include things such as sitting on cash, having your future purchasing power eroded, having the wrong asset allocation between different types of asset classes, weak structural foundations such as the inappropriate types of banking facilities, safe short-term decisions that are dangerous in the long term, behavior such as trying to time the market, pick stocks, a lack of awareness of hidden dangers, or perhaps suboptimal decision making. So, how can you avoid drift and make sure you avoid the trappings of the expat life? Well, the first thing you need to do is become aware of your current location. Fully acknowledging your current reality in every area of your life is critical to going in a better direction. In other words, you need to understand your spending versus your savings, because without that, you're going to stay drifting out at sea for a very long time. Then, you need to decide where you want to go. The essence of life planning is envisioning a better future. Basically, there are three possible outcomes. You'll either bob along, functioning your way along until retirement, or you'll drift downwards, because let's face it, drift always goes in a downwards direction and you'll end up floundering. But what if you make the decision today to remain upon a path towards a flourishing future? You can ask yourself questions such as, when do you want to retire? How much money do you need? What kind of physical, mental, or spiritual health do you want to possess in the future? What kind of marriage do you want to enjoy? What kind of career do you want to have? Why should you have to settle for drifting to a boring, suboptimal solution when yours and your family's future could actually be flourishing? And thirdly, working towards your destination. Once you've acknowledged where you are and decided where you want to go, you can begin moving towards your goals. Yes, it will take a lot of work because you might be working against the tide, but you're now aware of the gap and you can fill your days and weeks with actions that will close it. You're aware that drifting will lead to poor, potentially extremely costly outcomes. But when you have a plan, every day becomes an opportunity to move in the right direction, because the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are. Here's the really interesting part. I can guarantee this works. And in my profession, we generally like to avoid guarantees, but what I can't guarantee is your behavior, and whether you'll stay on the green line or shoot up it towards your optimal financial future, or behave your way off it and keep drifting in the amber or the red zone. So, are you going to behave yourself to wealth? Well, if you do decide to take that step, there's some important investment decisions and financial tools to help you get there safely. So check out this video next, where I explain how the wealthy invest their money to stay on course and avoid unnecessary drift.